Episode 40, Chef AJ and Kenny here. Kenny, did you ever believe that 10 months ago when I said, Kenny, can you come here during your lunch hour and help me out with a video, that we would be doing it 10 months and 40 episodes later?
40 episodes. That's pretty
crazy.
amazing.
And we've been renewed for another season.
We have. Yeah. Wow, look. Producers accepted us. Yeah. Executive producer.
So
we're at
just
12.
Make sure that you can hear me. I know you can see me, but just
we're all good.
First, all right, here we go.
21 on
So, excellent. So, welcome to Weight Loss Wednesday, episode 40. I'm Chef AJ, the creator of the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, and this is where I answer your questions about healthy, permanent, and sustainable weight loss. The best way to submit a question is through my website, www.eatunprocessed.com. Figures my nose would start itching right now. So you always like me to say where I'm going.
Where are you going?
And where I've been. So I just got back from the International Conference of Nutrition and Medicine, where I spoke for Dr. Neil Barnard at PCRM. Fabulous conference. Go if you can. I actually took some notes I'm going to share with you. Where I'm going next is Denver, the Plant-Based Summit put on by Kelly Williamson on Saturday, August 19th. And the next day, Get Healthy Sacramento, another wonderful plant-based conference put on by Linda Middlesworth in Sacramento. Dr. T. Colin Campbell is the keynote speaker. And then to True North for a few days to lecture. But then we've got the big conference in Vegas, September 1st, 2nd, 3rd. We have a few tickets left. We've got Dr. Lyle, Dr. Goldhamer, Carrie Saunders, myself, John Pierre, even my husband Charles is going to give a lecture. And this is where you can finally learn information that you've never heard before about why you binge, why you have cravings, why you eat at night. Dr. Lyle is presenting new research and new information that he has never presented on cravings and on what he calls compensatory conditioned response. So be there or you won't hear this groundbreaking information. So let's get started with the questions. Jenny asks, is it okay to use nonstick pans like the ceramic coated ones? So Jenny, whenever I get a question that's not related to weight loss, I generally just go to this website called nutritionfacts.org and see what Dr. Greger has to say about it. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything there. But what I did do is go to Dr. McDougall's website, and his 2006 newsletter talks about how he has never treated a single patient or seen anyone die from using the wrong cookware, but he's treated a lot of people for obesity and lifestyle-related diseases caused by cooking the wrong food and using oil and animal products. So I'm not an expert in this. I don't know. I know a lot of people, like the PCRM cooking instructors, use the waterless cookware. There's different brands. Some are made of titanium. Some are made of surgical stainless steel. You can't go wrong with that. Not my area of expertise. I don't know. I think it's more important what you eat necessarily than the pan, other than to say to avoid cast iron and aluminum pans. We know those aren't good. I do have one nonstick pan from a long time ago, but anything I buy now is just stainless steel or waterless cookware. So main thing is eat your vegetables. All right. Someone wants to know if there's a master list of the discount codes I offer. If you're in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, and if you're not, consider joining. In the file section there is. Some of my codes are temporary, some are permanent, and sometimes they change. Instant Pot, instead of $50 off, it's $10 off now with the code AJ. Everybody else uses Chef AJ. Instant Pot at www.instantpot.com. It's AJ, just my initials. And the reason the code went from 50 to 10 is because they've lowered their prices to be more competitive with Amazon. Plus, you can buy the Instant Pot everywhere now, from Walmart to Target. I wouldn't be surprised if it's at Costco any day. And then the other ones I have are with Bima and Paz, Chef AJ for 10% off at www.bimaandpaz.com. Benson's Table Tasty at www.benson's Gourmet Seasoning. Chef AJ 10% off, and both Benson's and Bima are going to be at the Vegas conference, so you can taste every flavor of vinegar and every flavor of salt-free seasoning. I just got one for Napa Valley Naturals, another delicious balsamic vinegar, and that code, if you buy a case from the website napavalleynaturals.com, is for the Grand Reserve is 25*10. I had one with Kale and Harwell that was 20%. I don't have one right now. I think that might be
Who's
it.
Kaylin Harlow?
Oh, well, Kaylin Harwell is going to come up in one of the questions. She does the most fabulous skincare line. She's in Tucson, and actually she's one of the questions. Well, it wasn't about her, it was about skincare, so we'll show one of her products. You'd like her, Kenny. She's gorgeous, actually, and I think she might be single. So there was a question, is chickpea miso compliant? Not if you're following an SOS-free diet, sugar-free, oil-free, salt-free. There are some health benefits benefits or purported health benefits to fermented foods, but miso can actually have more sodium than salt, which has 2,300 milligrams for every teaspoon. Now, there's certain brands of miso like South River and Cold Mountain that actually have less. They have about 110 milligrams per teaspoon, which is about a 24th the amount of sodium as table salt, but they still have salt. So if you are on the Ultimate Weight Loss Program or following an SOS-free diet, like Dr. Goldhamer recommends, then no, it would not be compliant, but I would much rather see somebody use a low sodium miso than to use salt. Any questions before?
Yes, Monica's asking about your shirt. She's in love.
Oh my gosh!
Thank you. What you wear? What are you wearing?
Thank you. Yes, a lot of these shirts are given to me. This one I actually had made, and look at this. But look at the back. The back
it's all torn up.
The back is pretty cool. Shada Soleimani, who lost 100 pounds on Ultimate Weight Loss and kept it off for 5 years, her aunt Giddy made this for me. Now, she didn't make the shirt, but she cuts my shirts for me. Because believe it or not, sometimes they're too small, like under the arms, and they pull, so that's why I cut them. They makes it a lot cooler when you're spinning. It's 100 here today. So thanks, Monica. So Carrie wants to know the topic du jour. How do I feel about rice? I used to eat it a lot, but now I'm afraid to have somebody point out to me the high levels of arsenic, which totally bums me out because I really like rice, and I really like rice too. And how do I feel about it? I'm sad. I don't like this information. I wish it wasn't true. That's not stopping me from eating rice. It's making me look at some of the research that I'm looking on Dr. Greger's site, nutritionfacts.org, about the different ways of cooking it to lower the arsenic levels, about the different rices in different regions. The saddest thing is my favorite rice is apparently the one highest in arsenic. Maybe that's why I like it so much, the Texmati, the organic brown Texmati. So I hear that that's the highest in arsenic, but it depends where you get the rice. I asked Dr. Goldhamer, he said, make sure you're eating organic rice grown in California. So I don't want to say I'm not convinced. I mean, I believe the research, but does that mean that I'm going to get cancer if I eat rice? You know, I've been following a vegan diet for 40 years now, and an A+ diet for 10 years, and I'd say at least an A diet for almost 15 years. So I really feel that my diet is so pristine and really perfect. It really is. That I'm protected against these diseases because I don't know anybody that eats more vegetables than me and all the foods that are high in antioxidants. So I'm really not worried. I don't believe I'm going to get cancer, even though I have a family history of it. I just don't think I'm going to get any of these diseases. I'm almost 60. I haven't gotten any of them yet. So am I still eating rice? Yes, but I'm also now introducing more grains for variety, which is good. I'm loving millet. Oh, it's so easy to cook in the Instant Pot, and I'm starting to eat more quinoa. I have this new salad I make. It's greens. It's like dark greens cut up, you know, the baby greens. It's red quinoa, sprouted quinoa, red onion, and blueberries with the Napa Valley Naturals. So I'm really loving that. So yeah, I'm bummed, and I wish it wasn't true. And, you know, I wish they would compare people that ate really healthy that did some of these things to people that eat the standard American diet. You know, I don't know. So I feel sad is how I feel. Got anything for me, Kenny?
Someone asked, Lundenberg rice?
Yeah, that's the one from California that Dr. Goldhamer recommends. You know, I'm going to be, well, actually, he's not going to be at True North from there, but I'm going to be continuing this conversation with him. And when I'm at True North, I'm going to see if they really are serving rice, and then I'll get back to you. I mean, I love wild rice, but I guess even though that's technically a grass, that's still considered something that might have arsenic. You know, I saw Dr. Greger, and I said, you ruined rice for me. And I said, you ruined potatoes for me. He goes, what do you mean? I go, the air fryer. He said he never said that we couldn't use an air fryer or that was bad, just so you know. I heard it from the horse's mouth. All right, so Kristen says her Jack Russell Terrier Maxie goes crazy when she chops cucumbers and zucchini. That's adorable. Just shoot me a video for that. She loves kale and carrots too, and she loves my red lentil chili. That dog has very, very good taste. She says she'd love to transition her to feed homemade whole foods. Do I make Bailey's food? Do you have any tips for our fur baby's food? I should have brought the bag out. I do feed her V-Dog. I didn't at first because we adopted her at age 4 and she just wouldn't eat anything but meat. And we slowly transitioned her to an almost exclusive plant-based diet. V-Dog has little tiny kibbles. See, she couldn't eat it at first because they were too big. She's very small. She's 14 pounds, but V-Dog has a dry food now with little tiny pieces of kibble. And she gets cooked vegetables. She gets potatoes and sweet potatoes and rice. She gets about a tablespoon of meat left per meal. And hopefully one day that'll be gone. We've got some new canned vegan dog food, but we have to go slowly with her because she's a little dog and she doesn't eat that much food. So if you want tips on making homemade dog food, there's a wonderful book by Sanai Suzuki and the vegan vet are Mighty May. I interviewed them. You can find that on my website, UNPROCESSED.com. That interview is called Healthy Happy Pooch. And she has 6 golden retrievers. One just passed away, actually, and she talks about how she makes their food, and she gives recipes. And I actually do make my own biscuits. So thank you. Anything?
Yeah, so 2 questions here. One is Tony's asking about if you're coming to Texas, Austin, Texas specifically.
Well, I
think you told all the places you're going to. I think you went to Marshall, Texas.
I go to Marshall every year. I'd love to go to Austin. I have applied many times for their Veg Fest. They continually turn me down. I've been to Austin when I taught at the Whole Foods Immersion Program in 2010. That's where I met John Pierre. And I have been to the Optimum Health Institute there. So I'd love to go, but it's better if you recommend me, because when I go to the organizers, it's never as powerful. You know what? I just spoke at the Washington Veg Fest because somebody said, hey, have Chef AJ, and they called me. So if you want me in your city, find a way to get me there. I really am trying to cut down on travel, though. So come to Vegas and see me. That's the most affordable, fun place you can see me.
And that is a month from today.
Yeah. Are you going to come, Kenny?
I'm going to come.
Yes, Kenny's coming. So now you have to come, and then you can meet him and see how cute he is. Perfect hair. So Diana says,
no,
you do have perfect hair. He looks like David Duchovny, the X-Files actor. Diana says that a person in her household is telling her that she's only listening to one side of the story when it comes to nutrition and health. How can she help them understand the weight of evidence for a whole food plant-based diet? They claim the scientific evidence she shared is biased. Well, there's an old saying, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So I don't think you can help them or convince them, because they clearly don't want to know this information, because they're saying it's biased. It's not. This is in the medical literature. There's just so many references, thousands and thousands. I just interviewed dietitian Brenda Davis, who talked about a position paper for I believe it was the American Academy of Dietetics, saying that vegan diets are completely healthy and sound at every stage of their life. You know, people want good news about their bad habits. They don't want bad news about their bad habits. And I think you just waste your time trying to convince people that aren't interested. You know, you can put your hand out to lift somebody up, but if they pull you down, you got to let go. So I can't answer how you can help somebody else understand this. You know, there's books. I mean, there's documentaries now, but most people that are resistant to this information are either resistant to looking at the books and watching the films, or they're going to find a way to shoot holes in it. So, you know, I mean, what do they mean the evidence is biased? I mean, honestly, I just don't waste time with these people. But if there's somebody in your life that you care about, then maybe you just have to agree to disagree, because I don't think you can convince anybody of this. You know, you can show them the evidence, but people see what they want to see, they hear what they want to hear, because like most of you, and myself included, they're addicts. And anytime you show them evidence that one of their addictive foods is not healthy, they just don't want to hear it. So sorry, I don't have a better answer, but I don't know what you can do. You know, it's just like motivating people. We had a question last week on exercise and how she can motivate herself, that she's doing some cardio, but she can't seem to motivate herself to lift weights. And can I motivate her? I can't motivate you. I can maybe inspire you, but I can't motivate you, you know? What can I tell you? But back to that exercise question, Kenny, I thought about it, like often happens, I give an answer and then I think about it like for a whole week. I have a better answer for you. I still don't know how to motivate you to lift weights or exercise, but I know a technique that worked for me to get me to do it and almost look forward to it. So a couple of years ago, we stopped watching television. We got rid of all of our TVs except for the one in the living room, because I had read a study actually that said that the more TV you watch, the fatter you are. And the last thing I wanted to do was gain my weight back. And TV is really just a waste of time. It's another one of these addictions. And just like I believe Facebook is a waste of time too, even though here I am broadcasting on it. But I'm not on Facebook, guys. I don't have a personal page. So there's a few shows. There's 3 hours worth of television that my husband and I like, these shows that we like together. He can watch all he wants and do what he wants. So we never watch things live, because if you watch commercials, it's terrible if you're a food addict, because you don't want to see those images. So we DVR things. So these 3 hours of television take about 2 hours a week to watch, and so we do allow ourselves that, and we do watch Jeopardy because we're doing it mostly for our mind. And so that's it. And so I know there's lots of great shows out there. I mean, I watched Downton Abbey, best show ever, and I hear about these shows, The Crown, and all these people are watching these great shows, and I don't know how people have time for them when they have jobs. and exercise and getting enough sleep. But what I do, and this is because of Shada and Sharon McRae, they kept telling me about this show called This Is Us, and I kept hearing about it. And so what I do is, if I want to watch a show, the only way I'm going to watch it is if I'm exercising. And so now pretty much everybody has an iPhone or a smartphone now, and I get on the bike, and that's when I do it, because then I don't even realize I'm exercising, because actually I'm doing something that I kind of really want to do, like a guilty pleasure. And all these podcasts I listen to by Dr. Lyle, that's the only podcast I listen to, actually, that and Howard Jacobson. He had like 78 episodes, and I do it when I'm exercising, when I'm walking. And that's how I get myself to exercise. And next thing I know, 100 minutes have gone by, and all I feel like I've done is watch TV or listen to a great podcast. So that's what I recommend, not necessarily to motivate yourself, but to get you to do it. Do something else you like as a reward at the same time. Or pay yourself to exercise. You know, I bet if I paid you, you would exercise, right? I mean, think about it. The Biggest Winner, one of the reasons I think some of them had success is because there was this huge cash prize. If I paid you, would you exercise? Pay yourself. Get a jar. Every time you do it, put $5 in and save for a reward. One of the things we talk about in the Mastery program is to have rewards, you know, daily, weekly, monthly. So start paying yourself or get somebody else to pay you. But there are ways to do it. And then, you know, the more you do it, the more you like it. It's just like eating vegetables. Anything else before I go on, Mr.?
Well, someone was asking, in the circumstances of where people are eating animal products, in your presence, I mean, I'm sure you don't deal with that as much because
I'm never around people that eat animal products.
What do you do? How do you deal with that if that's the case?
Well, I mean, it depends on the situation. If it's at your family's dinner table, it's a lot different than if you're electing to go to something. I have asthma, and I don't be around people that smoke. And if somebody's smoking, I'm not around them. So I choose not. Listen to the interview I did with Ray Sikora. I choose not to be around people that are contributing to abuse of another species. So I just don't do it. It's not allowed in my house. I don't go to people's house that eat animals. That's how I choose to live my life, because I want my values and ethics to be in line with what I believe. And if I'm around that, you know, it's like I'm condoning it. So I don't be around that, just like I don't be around drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes. And you have the right to live your life how you want, just as they do, but I'm not going to be around it. So,
someone else was asking about who the other podcast you listen to.
Howard Jacobson, Plant Yourself, and Dr. Doug Lyle's Beat Your Jeans.
But who's this Howard Jacobson? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, he's a great guy. He's,
Go ahead.
He is the co-author on the book Whole with Dr. Colin Campbell and Proteinaholic, Dr. Garth Davis. And he runs something called the Big Change Program, and he's a great speaker. And he has a wonderful podcast where he interviews interesting people. I don't listen to every single one of his. It just depends on who his guest is. Whereas Beat Your Jeans with Doug Lyle, I do, like, I binge listen to that. And sometimes I listen to the episodes over again because that's stuff that I'm really passionate about. And I actually was a guest on Howard Jacobson's Plant Yourself podcast. It's excellent. And I hear Rich Roll has a great podcast. It's not that I don't listen to it. I don't have time for everything, but it's always in the queue. I have Rich Rolls there to listen to someday because I know he has really interesting guests. So Jana says that if I remember correctly, you mentioned that you don't eat as much fruit because it tastes so good and you will eat too much. As a food addict, I'm experiencing the same thing. I'm following the Ultimate Weight Loss Program and loving it. I eat vegetables for breakfast, big salads for lunch, and beans or sweet potatoes plus more vegetables at night. But honestly, if I get my hands on a watermelon, I want to eat the whole thing. So I'm trying to limit my fruit intake. My question is, if I limit fruits, do I miss getting any nutrients my body needs? Thanks for all you do. So realize that there are 6 fruits that we classify as non-starchy vegetables: zucchini, eggplant, tomato, okra, bell pepper, and cucumber. So we think of those as salad vegetables or vegetables. And so you can still eat those unlimited because they're not sweet, and they're actually the food lowest in caloric density. Instead of the normal 100 to 125 calories per pound, they're about 67 to 72 calories per pound. So as long as you're eating plenty of those, and I eat about 2 pounds of those a day, I wouldn't worry that you're missing any nutrients. So I don't avoid fruit. It's just that I try not to eat it by itself because I'll overeat it. You know, as a former sugar addict or sugar addict in recovery, when you stop eating sugar, fruit becomes your sugar because it is the sweetest thing you can eat. And that's why I don't eat any of the sweet fruits. I don't eat dates. I don't eat any dried fruit. And bananas, I can't even eat those anymore. They're just too sweet. and I will overeat on them. So what I try to do is combine my fruit with my meals. And by that I mean is when I eat my big salad, watch my video, The 8 Secrets to Superior Salad Satisfaction, I put fruit in my salads. I love putting blueberries in, I love putting blackberries in, and grapes cut in half. So I'll eat my fruit with my salad, with my starch, because there's also starch in my salad. And if I'm eating greens, I'll eat something like pineapple with them. And you know, when you eat vitamin C with greens, you actually absorb more iron anyway. So that's kind of how I eat my fruit. And that's not to say that I never eat it by itself, but I'm with you. I mean, I would not be able to stop eating watermelon. It's too delicious. I mean, even when I eat blueberries, I eat the whole flat, and it's like 18 ounces. So I think that's normal, and I wouldn't worry, especially if you're at your goal weight. I mean, it's not going to hurt you to eat too much fruit, you know, but if you're doing it late at night, it might make you uncomfortable. It might make you, it's mostly water, so I really wouldn't worry about it, but I get how you feel. But if that's the worst of your problems, don't worry about it. But I agree, watermelon is there. Oh, that's amazing. But it's mostly water, so I really don't think you could overeat on it to the extent where it will hurt you, unless maybe you're diabetic. And for some people, it does raise their triglycerides. So I don't avoid fruit, but I mean, there are days that I don't eat any sweet fruit, and there are days that I eat a couple of pieces. I love the envy apple. Those aren't too sweet. I try to focus on the lower glycemic ones, like the berries. What's interesting is one of the things I learned at the International Conference for Nutrition and Medicine this weekend is that the food most associated with preventing of Alzheimer's is vegetables. It's not fruit. People always talk about blueberries being brain berries, and they said, yes, that's true, but that's the only fruit that was protective against Alzheimer's, but all vegetables were. That's another reason why you have to eat your vegetables. And speaking of vegetables, Leah had a question. Why does Dr. Esselstyn recommend balsamic vinegar on his greens? Does it make the greens healthier? I love Dr. Esselstyn. He wrote the foreword to my book. I'm so appreciative. And if you go on nutritionfacts.org, Dr. Greger has a video about this, or you could read the transcript explaining how it improves endothelial function. And the other thing is it's an acid, and again, acid with greens, you're going to absorb the iron more. So yes, I'm not sure if it makes what you're eating healthier, but apparently it improves endothelial function. Plus, it's delicious. It just makes it so much more delicious. And so my feeling is by any greens necessary, eat your greens. Or as my shirt says, eat your damn kale. Anything more before I continue on?
We have all these love connections coming up there. People asking places over. Are you anyone from Philadelphia? Anyone from Texas?
I went to college in Philadelphia. And guys, please consider sharing these. You know, right now while you're watching, sharing is caring, and it helps me out. If you share my videos and subscribe to my YouTube page, Chef AJ, and to my mailing list, eatunprocessed.com.
Just let our friends know I'll be in Dallas just after our event in Las Vegas. I'm going to Dallas straight over. I'm driving right over there.
Make sure you tell Charles you're going, because we want to get you a ticket. And you should go see Dr. Gustavo Tolosa while you're in Dallas, my friend.
Okay.
He's wonderful. Sarah asks why whole wheat pasta is avoided on the Ultimate Weight Loss Program when it has a caloric density of 590 calories per pound. Well, we don't eat any processed food, and we specifically don't eat any food with gluten. So if you want the exact long answer, please go to my website and listen to the teleclasses I did with Dr. Joan Ifland and Dr. Erwin Linsner, where they talk about gluteomorphins. So if you're familiar with Dr. Barnard's book, The Cheese Trap, he talks about when we eat cheese, it turns to something called casomorphin in the brain. It's like an opiate, morphin being like morphine. Well, gluten does the same thing. So wheat, barley, rye, spelt, trichotilley, couscous, those grains, they're fine for many people that don't have things like celiacs, but for food addicts, it's not favorable. There's so many other grains to eat without those few, so we don't eat anything made from wheat or gluten. And the other thing is we don't eat anything that's ground into a flour, like pasta. It doesn't matter that the caloric density is low, and it's true that when you cook grains, they absorb water. That's why the caloric density gets lowered, but it's just not favorable for our brain chemistry. If somebody absolutely insisted on eating pasta, I would tell them to eat either the red lentil pasta or the black bean pasta. I still don't recommend it for people that are food addicted, but those would be the choice I recommend if I was feeding, my family, and that's what I feed Charles. I don't do the edamame pasta because it's too high in fat. Yeah.
Isn't the oats, when you grind them down, it's like a flour?
Yeah, so right. So that's the next question. Kenny, you are learning that.
I didn't know this.
One week, maybe on April Fool's, we'll have you put some pink lipstick on. Yes, because the next part of her question is, how does that compare to the flour from millet and the millet muffins? Okay, so guys, remember, yes, I'm a food addict in recovery, but I'm also a chef. And so the recipe I created, which you can get in my first webinar, the millet muffins, calls for 3 cups of oats, not ground, and 1 cup of millet ground. with the instruction that if this is a problem for you, either don't grind it. People have done it with the millet left whole, they've done it with the millet cooks, or just use 4 cups of oats. This is a textural thing. I'm a pastry chef, and so when I create a recipe, I want regular people to be able to eat it. Keep in mind, if you do the recipe with the ground millet, each muffin will have 4 teaspoons of millet. So if that's a trigger for you, just like anything, it's cause you to exponentially overeat, don't do it. But in the context of this recipe, because it's a starch-based treat that's made out of sweet potatoes, for me, it doesn't trigger me. But again, it's a good question, Kenny. So in general, I don't grind anything. My oats, I avoid things like arrowwood. But remember, food addiction can exist on a continuum. Some people are more vulnerable, some less, and for some people, this might be okay. And maybe for some people, pasta is okay. So, I mean, especially if you're a goal weight. But the thing is if you're eating pasta, it's like a flour product, and what are you not eating because of it? You should be eating whole foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. If you want pasta, spiralize some zucchini, eat some kelp noodles, but you don't really need to be eating pasta unless you're underweight trying to gain weight. All right. So Nikki writes, hi there, hi. I have to eat by the clock because of the medications insulin I take in the morning. I was eating vegetables for breakfast and my sugar was dropping too low before anytime oats snack. So I switched the oats first. I shove my veggies in whenever I can. Will this affect the weight loss? Any suggestions? So I wrote her and with a follow-up question asking her how much weight she had to lose, and she said 150 pounds. So at this point in your journey, absolutely not, because the truth is you can lose weight just eating starch. If you're eating just to the left of the red line and eating potatoes or grains or beans with calorie densities of 400, 500, 600 calories a pound at the weight you're at now, you are absolutely going to lose weight. So the vegetables are not just for weight loss. The vegetables are to combat food addiction, because I've shared with you on several episodes, and I've showed you the medical research articles, that they fight cravings, especially for sweets, and they turn off the hunger switch. Also, as I just said, they are the most important food for fighting Alzheimer's, and the food's highest in nutrient density. So it doesn't matter in your case right now that you're eating, quote, out of order or out of sequencing, because you have a special medical need that you have to do it this way. So don't be shoving stuff in, just try to be mindful. And maybe, what if you ate it together? So I know you're saying eating vegetables first doesn't work for you because you're on insulin, but what if you ate vegetables with starch? So what if you, instead of doing anytime oats, which is fruit, did my risotto, which is vegetables, which is savory oats, and did some kale with that? So there are ways to do it, but I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, people lose weight just eating potatoes. I mean, I don't recommend that. I mean, especially because a lot of times people do that, eating sauces with sugar in it and adding salt to it. I think they'd be better off doing vegetables with that. They'd lower the caloric density. But what vegetables do at 100 calories a pound are lower the overall caloric density of your meal. But at this stage of the game, when you have this much weight to lose, it's not going to be that big of a deal that you're eating out of order, as long as you're getting them in, because you really do need them for health and all of these other reasons. But take care of your medical condition first, and hopefully if you do this long enough, you will be able to reverse the diabetes and won't need insulin, and we've seen that happen. So if you haven't read Dr. Barnard's book or PBS special by the same name, you can actually buy videos, Reversing Diabetes. I encourage you to do that, but there's no bad time to eat vegetables. The reason we do them first in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program is to set the tone for the day, to fight the cravings, and to not activate the sweet tooth so early on, because it is hard for most people once they eat a food of a higher caloric density like a sweet potato that produces more dopamine to then go back and eat lowly vegetables. But for you, you have a great reason, and so I would suggest maybe eating them together, the starch and the vegetables. Okay?
So we got a couple questions.
All
And It's
right.
always funny how some people ask these questions and just out of the blue, off the topic of where we're at. But we're going to answer this question. Again, I'm starting to have friends in this age group, but I try, as I can't be so PC on this, but I'll do my best. This lady asks, any advice on hot flashes? Can't sleep. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah, so are you drinking alcohol? Are you drinking coffee?
Coffee.
I refer you, I'm from Chicago, I refer you to the work of Dr. Linda Carney. She talks a lot about how those increase estrogen, and so are you overweight? Because if you're overweight, that's something you want to change, and you won't, the people that I know that are not overweight are not really having any hot flashes. I'm not saying you're overweight, I don't know you, but that is one thing you could do, is lose weight, because the people I know that are eating this way and are not overweight don't get hot flashes. I know people that eat this way yet are still overweight that are getting hot flashes, and people that are not eating this way, they're always getting hot flashes. I'm almost 60, my sister's over 60, and we eat this way. we don't even know if we're going through menopause. We've never experienced a hot flash yet. And so I would say stick with the diet.
Wow, so I should stick with more women like this so I don't have to worry about that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
You know, Mary McDougall talked about this. She never had a symptom. So get down to your ideal body weight, eat this diet, ultimate weight loss, even if you're not in the program, and see if that helps, or refer to the work of Dr. Linda Carney. But if you're doing any alcohol or chocolate or caffeine, then you want to stop that, and that all contributes.
So hashtag hot flashes, go vegan, no hot flashes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Doris says she's doing an experiment for 21 days, doing the program 100%. Good for you. Question is about the product she uses for brushing her teeth and washing her face. She says she uses Dr. Bronner's Castile soap. Is that okay? It contains oil. I don't want anything to derail the efforts. What do I use for washing my face and brushing your teeth?
I do.
Well,
Exactly
Kenny uses that soap. So for washing my face, I use Kaylin Harwell, www.KaelenHarwll.com. You can watch an interview I did with her on my YouTube channel, Chef AJ. I have a whole bunch of her products. You can literally eat them, and I actually did eat them on air. They're so clean. They're made out of plants. I don't really know if they have oil in them or not, but I know that you do absorb oil if it's in products on your skin, but very, very minimally, not enough to derail your weight loss efforts.
Didn't Dr. Esselstyn say it's okay to smother
okay.
oil all over your body as long as you don't ingest it?
Absolutely, it is okay. And what I do for brushing my teeth, I use something called, I think it's called earth paste. It's made out of clay. It doesn't have any of the stevia or the I don't know, all that. It's very, you can even use baking soda for brushing your teeth. That's what Tim does.
That's what I do.
Is Tim Ray watching today? He uses,
nope, haven't seen Tim yet.
Peroxide and baking soda. So that's what I use.
But my dentist said don't use it every day.
Really?
Because it might be bad for the enamel.
Interesting.
That's just recently.
Very cool, very cool. Okay, Joe hired a personal trainer, and they're shoving the protein BCAA crap down her throat. Not even know what that was, BCAA. I politely replied that I believe my plant-based diet will give me everything I need. I really like my trainer. She only knows what she knows, but any suggestions on how to reply with effectiveness or which doctor has the best protein reply? You know, again, you guys ask me questions about how do you change other people. It's like I can't help you there because I just avoid people like that. I mean, there's so many other trainers that would be amenable to this. You could hire John Pierre and do a Skype session. You know, I just wouldn't put up with that crap from people, and that's just who I am. Because if they really want to know, the information's out there. But if you're asking what resource, I'd give them the book Proteinaholic by Dr. Garth Davis and Dr. Howard Jacobson. You know, I don't know what to tell you, but I wouldn't go to anybody that was shoving anything down my throat, especially something that we know not to be true. So it's got to be very annoying to you. And I mean, you could find another trainer. I'm sure this is not the only trainer in your town or in the world, and one that is more respectful of your way of eating. That's what I would do, or get them Proteinaholic. But I'd get another trainer because I just think it's easier to avoid people because you can't change them. They say it's harder to change somebody's diet than their religion, you know, because they have their own agenda and they have this narrow vision, these trainers, about protein. And, you know, it's just, talk to somebody that knows something. John Pierre has been training people for 40 years. He's been training military and FBI and celebrities, and none of them with animal protein. The producer of that film Earthlings, Sean Munson, he gained 40 pounds of muscle working with John Pierre. So I talked to somebody that knows something like John Pierre. That's what I would do, because I don't have time for people that are gonna do this to me. Well, AJ, especially if you're paying for it. Yeah.
People picked on me about certain things over the time on the last 40 episodes.
Yeah.
This time we're gonna pick on you. You need to get some smaller pants. You keep pulling them back and forth.
I know.
People are thinking like they're gonna
I don't want my pants to fall down during the show. I'm so sorry. I know.
You need to get some smaller pants. So you're losing weight still, I guess.
No, I'm the same. But it's, you know, your body can change. It really can. Diana says, again, this is another question, but she goes, a person in her household is telling her that I'm listening to one side of the story, only listening to one side of the story when it comes to nutrition and health. How can I help them understand the weight of the evidence for a whole food plant-based diet? They claim the scientific evidence I have is biased. Again, you guys can't change anybody. You can only change yourself. Live by example. Put your oxygen mask on first. And you know, I avoid these people, but if they're in your life and you love them, you want to be there, you're just going to have to accept them for who they are, and they're going to have to accept you for who you are.
Okay, someone asked earlier about corn and if you eat it or not. Then the organic corn, it's a grain, totally fine, right?
Mm-hmm. I totally eat corn. I make sure it's non-GMO and organic, and Costco sells it both, non-GMO and organic, and I love it in my air fryer. As a matter of fact, I had a pound of it, 4 big, what's it called when it's on the cob? today. Delicious. So yes, I love corn. It's not my favorite grain. I probably do like rice better, but I love it and I eat it when it's good, and don't avoid it. But I'm a potato girl. Sweet potatoes and regular potatoes. That's always probably going to be my favorite starch. Susan wants to know if peas and lima beans are okay for VFB. VFB is my acronym for vegetables for breakfast, and if intermittent fasting will slow her metabolism. Well, I asked Dr. Goldhamer about the intermittent fasting part of your question, and he said that no fasting, whether it's intermittent fasting or water fasting, has any lasting effect on metabolism. But I would refer you to the True North website, healthpromoting.com. Kenny, can you see this? Am I holding it up right? There's a wonderful article written by Dr. Jennifer Morano. That's the wife of Dr. Goldhamer. And I really encourage you to read that article and find out more about intermittent fasting and if it's right for you. I don't recommend it, though, right away for people in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program. It's a tool we recommend for people when they're having trouble losing the last 10 pounds. If I remember correctly, Susan, you're just starting out, so I would do the Ultimate Weight Loss Program at least 30 days as designed before adding more to it than is absolutely not necessary. So it's a great article, and it talks about the different types and the benefits, and she debunks the myth that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and you can listen to a teleclass I did with her on my website where she talks about that. Peas and lima beans are not vegetables. They are legumes, so they're not really what I would consider suitable for non-starchy vegetable breakfast, but they're certainly perfect for your starch afterwards. Valerie says, what is the fruit and vegetable day that Shada mentioned she learned from JP? And will it help her overcome a plateau? So like I just said to Susan about intermittent fasting, this is not something I recommend at all. And it's very hard to do. I did it one time just to prove that I could do it. The idea of fruit and vegetable days, you eat just fruits and vegetables without sugar, oil, salt, flour, alcohol, caffeine, and you're eating about 80% vegetables, 20% fruit. Not eating a lot of fruit, and certainly not a lot of sweet fruit, and it doesn't matter if it's raw or cooked. And this is what he uses for his client that are at the mastery level, which Shada's at, and she's been stable now, 100-pound weight loss for 5 years. It's not a tool I would recommend anyway, but I certainly wouldn't recommend it to somebody that still has weight to lose, a lot, and I certainly I would not recommend it to anybody that has a history of any kind of eating disorder or discordant eating. If you have a history of anorexia, bulimia, if you're actively binging, I don't recommend that kind of restriction. The good thing about doing a fruit and vegetable day, the one day I did it, was it taught me that I'm not going to starve, because there are times that I travel that I can't find starch, or that never happens because I carry the mill oat muffins with me. I carry the pumpkin pie bites. These are starch cookies. The recipes are on my webinar, so that doesn't happen. But back in the day, I sometimes could find fruits and vegetables at airports, but not starch. And it taught me that, the world's not going to come to an end, that hunger's not an emergency if all I eat is fruits and vegetables. But I don't necessarily recommend it for you. Would it help you overcome a plateau? Well, it might, because you're lowering your caloric density. But what I would recommend first is, are you eating completely to the left of the red line without any added sugar, oil, salt? Is there any restaurant food sneaking in with the oil and salt? And are you sequencing your meals? I much prefer people do the sequencing before they do the fruit and vegetable day or the intermittent fasting. And what sequencing is you eat the lowest calorically dense food first. So the way they teach it at True North and the way I eat is you eat your raw salad first. You eat a huge raw salad at every meal, and they serve that at True North even for breakfast. Then you eat a large serving of steamed vegetables, and then you move on to the third S, your starch. And of course, you can have fruit as well. So is every meal starting with raw salad, steamed, and then starch, the way Shada talked about in her broadcast. Do that first, and if you're still at a plateau, then we'll talk about the efficacy of you doing a fruit and vegetable day. And the other thing, of course, is, are you exercising and how much? So, anything before I go on? I've got about 3 more questions.
Cindy's just asking, where do you buy organic potatoes? Where?
Everywhere. Costco. I buy them at Costco. I buy them at Trader Joe's. I buy them at Whole Foods. They're everywhere. And potatoes are on the dirty dozen, but sweet potatoes, by the way, aren't. So Jenny asked, how often should I be weighing myself? Well, like never. We don't recommend weighing your food or yourself in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program. I think if you want to weigh yourself when you start, that's fine, because then you know what your metric is. But I'm not a fan of it, and especially if it's with the scale. Now, if you come to Vegas and get the BIA done by Dr. Carrie Saunders, the bioimpedance analysis, that's fine, because when you step on a scale, it really gives you no information other than a number of the gravitational pull because it doesn't tell you how much bone you have, how much muscle, how much stool is in your colon, how much intracellular or extracellular water you have. So the number really means very little. You go by how you feel, you go by your clothes. If you think of this as just a weight loss program, you're probably going to fail miserably, because if you think of it as a health program, the weight loss is a result of eating for optimal health. So many people get crazy and obsessed with the scale, and I don't recommend it. I did not weigh myself at all while I was losing weight. The only reason I knew is because when I started Ultimate Weight Loss on January 2nd, 2012, I had just come from True North where they did weigh me, and I knew I weighed 165 pounds. And then when I would go to the doctor from time to time, they would weigh me. And we didn't even own a scale at all during the when I was losing weight, so I never knew what I weighed. I just knew that my clothes kept getting smaller.
So you mentioned Kerry Saunders is coming, and he's going to tell us what else we're going to find at the Las Vegas.
You're going to see
who else is coming. What are the vendors are coming?
Well,
what are we going to see?
We only have 3 vendors because we're not that kind of a conference, and we only brought in the vendors that are going to sell stuff that you need to succeed on your weight loss journey. So we brought in Chef Terry from Be Mon Pa, so you can taste every single flavor, because people don't want to invest in the shipping if they don't know it tastes good. So you'll have every flavor to try on your salads every day, or just with a little stick that she gives you. Debbie Benson, who creates my favorite salt-free seasoning, Benson's Table Taste, and you can taste all her flavors. And then John Pierre is going to have a booth of the stuff that he recommends for the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, like certain essential oils, certain exercise bands. So it's not a vendor type conference, but you're going to get exclusive information that has never been presented by Dr. Doug Lisle. You're also going to get them presenting together, Dr. Lisle and Dr. Goldhamer, which never happens except at our conferences, where it's astounding. And Carrie's going to talk about weight. Carrie's going to explain what you weigh and what that means. And JP is going to talk about the power of motion. And Charles is going to talk about how to eat UWL and what it's like being married to a food addict. And I've got a new lecture called The 10 Commandments for Overcoming Your Weight Loss Obstacles. And JP and I are doing a new talk, a joint talk called the UWL Reboot Checklist. And there's a special dinner at Pan Vino, a 5-star restaurant in Vegas that's making a compliant meal. It's going to be amazing, a meet and greet on Friday night, so you get to meet like-minded people and learn from the top experts in this field.
Did I hear right that you're not recording it for purchase later?
Well, we're going to try. You see, if we don't sell at least 50 more tickets, we won't have enough money. The recording is very expensive because we've never done an event in a hotel before, and you need like this special cable that's ridiculously expensive. If we can sell 50 more tickets in the next month, then we might have enough money to pay somebody to record it using you have to use their people. There's different constraints in a hotel. So yeah, so we don't know about that yet. So if you want a recording, then encourage your friends to come live so that we have enough revenue to do this. It's really expensive when you do an event in a hotel because you have to meet minimums before you even get there. So it's not like the events we've done in the hospitals, which donated the room, or the churches, which only charged us $1,000. This is the big time, and we're not, event producers. It's really kind of stressful for us, so I'm kind of very anxious about it, talking to Dr. Lisle every week because I'm a little bit freaking out. So we need to sell more tickets, so please come.
So I'm not sure if this makes sense, but what is the disadvantage of eating steamed vegetables with your starch? Is there a disadvantage?
Well, there's no disadvantage. No. Okay, so there is no disadvantage. It's just the thing is we've learned, and you can test this yourself, that most people don't eat enough vegetables. And one of the things Dr. Goldhamer has always said, if you show me an overweight person, I'll show you somebody who's unwilling to eat enough raw salad and steamed vegetables. The starch is so much more delicious. We tend to prefer, we do prefer foods that have a higher caloric density because they produce more dopamine. So when you eat them together, you're not eating as many vegetables as you would if you had eaten a large serving first. So there's not a disadvantage, and especially if you're at goal weight, there's absolutely no disadvantage. All right. So, Chris wants to know if I could talk a little bit about the Ultimate Weight Loss Mastery Program, what the benefits are, and most importantly, what you could do now to prepare for mastery. So we're going to roll out or announce the next Mastery Program at the Vegas conference, which is going to be at a very critical time in the life of most food addicts, which is the holidays. We're going to run it October 1st to January 1st, so it's going to be those critical 3 months where most people relapse and sometimes never recover from those relapses. And so it's a small group coaching program run by myself and John Pierre. I don't feel really comfortable like selling it to you like on this broadcast. I think the best thing you could do is talk to people that have been in it, that have had tremendous success, like Kristen Bummer and Tammy Kramer and Heather Goodwin, who's lost almost 300 pounds now, and Shada Soleimani and BJ Swingle. These are all people that have blogs and Facebook pages, and ask them, because I'm not comfortable selling it. If it's the right program for you, it's going to be life changing, because it's small group coaching. So you get our phone number, you can text us, you can call us. I don't want to say we hold your hand, but it's a small group. So whereas there's lots of people in ultimate weight loss, and it's wonderful, this is just a smaller group where we do live interactions every week, either through phone calls or Facebook Live, but it's just to the group. And the part about how to prepare yourself is follow the program now. So follow the Ultimate Weight Loss Program to the best of your ability as designed, so that when you get into mastery, you can just take off. Okay. Julie says she's finding as she loses weight, she doesn't recognize the person she sees in the mirror. This bothers her, holds her back from continuing to lose at a steady pace. Any tips on adjusting her mindset and being more accepting of myself as your appearance changes? Well, the best tool I know for people accepting themselves is a book called You Can Heal Your Life. You can get the PDF free now if you Google it, and the audio free on YouTube. It's all about loving yourself. Louise Hay talks about, I've read this book like every year since 1987 when I first heard about it. She talks about how if we truly loved ourselves, we would never be overweight. I would really recommend a private session with Dr. Doug Lyle or John Pierre. They both charge $75 for 30 minutes. That's dirt cheap, and then you can see which one resonates with you, because there is something called body dysmorphic syndrome where, there are people, that's what anorexia is. They're wasting away, but they still think they're fat, or at least they don't think they're thin. I think that will change in time for most people, because if you've been overweight or even obese for a long period of time, that's who you have known yourself to be, and so it just takes a while, I think, for the brain to catch up. But I really would have a session with one of these two experts, especially if it's impeding your ability to go further. So, but I understand that, and that is, I hear that from a lot of people, a lot of women, that the mirror doesn't reflect the reality. So, but please do something about it, because we don't want your wonderful efforts thus far derailed. So, this is an interesting question. Angie says, do I ever feel pressure to maintain my weight loss for credibility? I have lost lots of weight, but still have more to go. Sometimes I feel that people look at me and think, if this way of eating good, why am I not thin? So, Angie, I don't feel pressure to maintain it for credibility, but I felt pressure to lose the weight when I was overweight, because people were saying to me, because see, I was presenting, I've been in the, maybe not the grand public eye, but in the public eye since at least 2000, when I started teaching cooking and teaching at cooking schools, and at Whole Foods teaching a vegan diet and a whole food plant-based diet without oil. And people would raise their hand and say, it was always men, if the vegan diet's so good, why are you so fat? So I did feel the pressure to lose weight to have credibility in the first place, because people just, they didn't, they weren't hearing me, because they had a perception that if you're vegan, you should be thin. And the thing is you can be thin as a vegan if you're on the right version of the vegan diet, but it's also possible to be overweight or even obese. But as far as now, I don't feel pressure to maintain it, because I hate to say this, but it's actually really easy now. I mean, like, once I figure it out and just did what Dr. Goldhamer said to do, there's no pressure, because I don't have to do anything. It's, it's like when you fly a plane, they say that the hardest time is getting it up in the ground. But once it's up there, it just kind of sails, and I'm just sailing, because I know as long as I continue to eat the same way that I ate to lose the weight, I'll stay this weight, and my weight hasn't changed. I know Kenny said I look thinner. I am exercising more because I'm so anxious about this conference, but my weight is the same. I've been 117 pounds plus or minus 3 for the past 5 years. So
this is a great place to start wrapping up, because our time is there.
All right.
But I was going to say, with that said,
I'd like to finish, though, because I hate when it's hanging over my head, if it's okay. I mean, I know they don't mind if I go a couple minutes longer. It's just, but Angie, I just, this is a, what's this called? A barf bag from the airplane, because I was reading Dr. Scott Stoll's book, because I interviewed him today. And when you said about the pressure to maintain, or the credibility, it's difficult to maintain, he said in his book, he goes, if you change something to achieve a particular result, and then you return to your normal routine after that result has been achieved, you will inevitably undo your accomplishment. And so I think about that, because as long as I do what I did, I'll be who I am. But you're right, that people don't always find somebody credible if they don't look the way they expect. So for example, like if you have a hairdresser that has just horrible mats in her hair or his hair, would you consider going to them as a hairdresser? And if you were going to somebody for coaching, especially weight loss coaching, and they were overweight, would you consider them credible? If you were going to somebody at a gym to work out and they were overweight, this is human nature, guys. I didn't make this up. This is rooted in evolutionary psychology. If you have a problem with it, take it up with Dr. Lyle. Call him Wednesday night live during his podcast, Beat Your Genes, 8:30 to 9:30. But that is perception of other people. Okay.
So I have a question for everybody online here. We have 199 at the moment.
Don't forget to share.
Share. We have 6 people that shared, and we need to have more people share. But I want to ask everybody, who's here online that's watching us? Are they sitting on a couch? Are they sitting in a chair?
Yeah, because we're both standing.
Or are they standing and moving their legs back
like
and
Dr.
forth,
Greger
stretching their muscles,
treadmill.
doing like Dr. Greger, as AJ's saying, walking on a treadmill, or just moving? Because that's going to help you spending this last hour doing something and staying active, just like AJ does her spinning by listening to webcasting,
that's right,
podcasting. But to do this, do the same thing. Stand up. Don't be sitting.
Very good. Okay.
Colleen, stand up.
I'll talk fast because I really would rather finish this because then I can just throw these pages away. Kara says that she did the McDougall program for maximum weight loss last summer for 3 months. She lost 30 pounds, fell off the wagon when she had back surgery, had to rely on others to prepare your food. Rule number 1, don't rely on others. That's what I always see on that show, My 600-Pound Life. They couldn't be 600 pounds unless somebody was bringing them that food. Since then, she gained the weight back and desperately needs to get back on track. Joined UWL a few months ago. Lacking commitment, she has 150 pounds to lose and chronic health conditions to heal. She keeps trying to begin, only to fail. Any words of wisdom you have how to get unstuck would be helpful. She has an all-or-nothing attitude, not serving her well, overwhelmed by massive changes she needs to make, addicted to fast food, can't get her head in the game, 50 pound, almost 50, been overweight since 10. Well, I'm almost 60 and I've been overweight since 5, so it still can change. Lost and regained more times than she can count. She knows it's the real deal, eating real food and no gimmicks. She knows it works because of last summer. It's as if she has a mental block, and she's incredibly frustrated. So this is where you have to have a session. It's not negotiable. You absolutely have to talk to Dr. Doug Lyle or John Pierre or both. That's why I recommend do both, $75 for each of them. Do a half-hour session, whichever one resonates with you, because again, the food is what's going to heal you and cause you to lose weight. But I'm not a psychologist, and you need to get this straight, because as John Pierre has been saying for 10 years, until you fix this, you're not going to be able to fix this. And Dr. Lyle, I think, would be the guy for you, and maybe John Pierre, or maybe both, because you know you can do it. And as far as the motivation, just like with the exercise question, I can't make you want to do it. You have to want this for yourself. We talked about in the interview with Dr. Stoll today about finding the why. Why do you want to do this? Food is extremely addictive. The best thing you could do is get yourself to True North on the next plane. Come to that conference. No excuses, because if there's a will, there's a way. I'm sorry that I don't have a better answer for you, but that's what you have to do. You're not able to do it on your own, clearly. I mean, you were, but then you relapsed, so you need help, and we offer that help at the conference, in the mastery program. But I would just have a private session with the 2 experts on this. Try to come to the conference, get to True North if you can. It's a hard problem to solve. You were not designed to solve this problem. Your brain evolved in an environment of scarcity, and I know you say that you don't have any non-compliant food in the house that you'd eat, but we did a whole series of webinars on this, and just having non-compliant food in the house is enough of a trigger to get you to go out and eat other non-compliant food. So I think you have a lot of work to do, and I think you need to start by maybe having a session to inspire you with one of these 2 people that have helped so many people. And Bailey just farted. Speaking of farting, John Pierre hates the name The Ultimate Weight Loss Program. He thinks it should be called the Love and Compassion Program, which nobody would buy. But the truth is UWL is not just about weight loss. It also stands for the ultimate way of life, or your ultimate warranty for life. I actually wanted to call it the Food Addiction Reversal Treatment Program, but the acronym was FART, F-A-R-T, and I didn't think anybody would join the FART program, but Bailey just farted. Hopefully it was Bailey and not you, Kenny.
No, it wasn't me this
time. All right,
time.
so 2 more questions, and I'll talk fast because they're similar, and that's why I wore this shirt. That's why I had to get to them, from Diane and Dawn. So Diane says she's having trouble trying to figure out what to eat for her first meal of the day. The thought of eating greens makes her gag. And Dawn says that on many days it's so easy to eat this way, yet others are hard, and she feels she can't face another veggie. I was used to dealing with stress via food. How long does it take before you start breaking the stress-related food addiction? So the thing is how it takes as long as it takes. And it will take less time if you find ways to mitigate your stress instead of medicate your stress. So are you exercising first thing in the morning? Are you exercising vigorously? And the thing is the thing that you guys resist the most is the thing that's going to help you the most. And that's why I wore the shirt that says just eat your damn kale or eat your damn kale. So what you eat for the first meal of the day is vegetables if you're suffering from food addiction and want to lose weight. If you're not, eat whatever you want. I don't care what you eat. So if the thought of eating greens makes you gag, that just tells me that your diet is worse than most people and that you're more addicted than most people. Because, you know, my husband, when we started eating greens for breakfast, he didn't like jump for joy, but it didn't make him gag because he's not a food addict. So the worse this food tastes, the worse vegetables taste, the alkaline foods, that means the more acidic you are, and then it's more important for you to eat that. And if you want this food to taste better sooner, then, as Dr. Goldhamer says, you need to get to True North and fast, because then when you fast, you really appreciate the abundance of vegetables and how delicious they are. The first food that you get after a fast is steamed zucchini, and when people eat it after a water fast, it's like Harry Met Sally. It's like they're having orgasms. And so, Dawn, if you can't face another veggie, then
sign me up for that.
Yeah, maybe you're not hungry when you're eating, you know. So if the thought of eating greens makes you gag, then eat another vegetables. Does the thought of eating a cherry tomato make you gag? If that really is true, then they actually have hypnotherapy for people that really detest vegetables, and it's been very effective. If you're local, I know 2 vegan hypnotherapists that can help you. So, you know, I don't know what to tell you. You don't have to like it. You just have to do it, and the more you do it, the more you like it, even if you have to force yourself to do it at the very beginning, just like exercise. How long it takes depends on how compliant you are, how diligent you are, and I don't know if it ever goes away, because if the reason you're eating is because of stress, until you die, you're always going to have stress. So you have to find other ways to deal with the stress. Are you actively posting in our community? Are you meditating every single day? Are you exercising? Are you being compliant? You know, I've got a lot of stress too, and what helps me is doing the exercise, talking to Dr. Lyle every week. You know, for some people it's prayer. So that's the thing, but eat your damn vegetables. So before we close, Kenny, I just want to really quickly go over some things I learned at the conference this weekend, because we get a lot of questions about this. And one of them, because we get a lot of questions about eating at night, and all the doctors there said that is one of the worst things you can do due to circadian rhythms. It produces more insulin, which is terrible, and it impairs insulin sensitivity and glucose metabolism, as does shift work. And I feel real bad because I get emails from people that are like nurses and work the swing shift or the night shift, and that is very, very hard. So artificial sweeteners, well, what's wrong with stevia and xylitol and erythritol? Well, all the doctors concurred, terrible for the microbiome, it's a GI nightmare, but that it also stimulates the obesity cycle, causes inflammation and insulin resistance, an insulin-resistant cascade, and then you end up taking more calories when you're eating things like erythritol and stevia. And let's see, the other thing about eating at night, that they've done studies, people that eat the same amount of calories or more calories but don't eat it at night, the people that eat at night, the more fat will be deposited from that evening meal. So go to bed, lights out at 10 o'clock. They talked about how having television and your iPhone in your bedroom, any of those blue lights, terrible for that. You need to get your deep sleep, and you need to get to bed by 10 o'clock, and you need to stop eating at least 3 to 5 hours before bed. So thank you so much for watching episode 40 of Weight Loss Wednesday. I'm Chef AJ, and I truly believe you can have both the health and the body that you so richly deserve. And Kenny, how are you going to shut the camera off if you're sitting over there?
I'm just
Kenny's watching the show.
I was doing my meditation as we did the show.
Get your questions into eatunprocessed.com, and please come to Vegas, and thank you so much.
1 month from now.
Eat your kale.
Over and out.